So welcome to today's episode. I think you're in for a treat. I have a guest today, Curtis May. He's got 30 plus years in the financial services area. He's the founder of Practical Wealth Advisors Company, and he has his own podcast. So I appreciate him coming online to share his wisdom and experience. It's called the Practical Wealth Show. Really, it's something I highly encourage you to go listen to his podcast. Curtis, he does an awesome job, has tremendous guests. And thankfully, I feel proud of it. I got to know Curtis over the years. We've kind of swam in some of the same pools in terms of financial communities, and always had some great fond memories of him sharing his wisdom to me as a newer advisor coming into the field. So I thought I'd bring Curtis on here to share his experience. He's got a wealth of it, and hopefully you'll get tremendous amounts of good advice, as whether you're a W-2 earner, a job thinking about getting into business, or you're in your current business and you're trying to, maximize all of the wealth that you're creating with your business. So Curtis, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited about today's
Thanks
conversation.
for having me. Yeah. We go back a while. At least, what year is this? At least 6 years or so. Yeah, at least 6 or 7 years. So, I'm so happy to see. I was looking at your website. Y'all doing some great stuff, and great business that you got set up. So we both talking all things IBC, business owners, that kind of stuff. And we were just saying before we started recording, we never met, or I've never met a conspiracy theory I didn't like. And so there's a lot of stuff out there to talk about. But both of us, what we want to do is we want you to be able to keep more of what you make. That is the objective. The 3 skills of money: of make it, keep it, grow it. And I'm in the keep it guy. You do some. I saw your investment advisory thing, so you're kind of the make it guy too. But I'm the keep it guy, and that's the name of the game.
I definitely start there with everyone. I like to keep more. It's the simple stuff, and that's why I love even the name of your show and your company, Practical. I think that's what people want: practical advice. Simpler advice, the better. I think sometimes we can overcomplicate things. People love to overcomplicate, especially in the finance space, because they think they're just makes them look better or something. I don't know what it is.
Listen, 2 + 2 is 4, right? That's the meaning I tell people. Look, and so typical. Well, so let me give you a little backstory, so you get a framework for where my thought process comes at.
Yeah.
I started in the financial space in 1985, believe it or not, and I was told, but I realized the NBA was not looking for 5'11" shooting guards, right? And so I got my insurance license in college, and then a couple years after that, I became a registered rep, and so I was doing the mutual funds and the whole thing for the next 13, 14 years, and I was typical. And then I heard our Kiyosaki, so I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I was like, what? Because I was like Dave Ramsey on steroids: buy term investor difference, max out your 401k, all of what our mutual mentor, Kim Butler, would say, typical advice, right? I was a typical advisor. And then I realized, and then I heard her on one of Robert Kiyosaki's early tapes, like Choose to Be Rich. And the kind of, okay, what is she talking about? What do you mean rich people don't buy term insurance? It's a waste of money. Now, she doesn't. I think I heard that wrong, because we all, there's nothing wrong with term insurance. But what happens is I thought whole life, for example, was the devil. Just talk about products, And but I started to see a different way. I realized there was 2 schools of thought when it comes to money. And so when we teach it, Tom, we say, look, there's the accumulation theory, which is buy and hold, dollar cost average, get out of debt, buy term investor difference. The S&P, dollar cost averaging, all that stuff, moderate portfolio theory. But then when you look at people with money or companies, it's what we call in our system the velocity method, right? So velocity of money, which is the economic principle. So where you're being taught how to accumulate, buy and hold, give your money up to control someone else for 30 years, what a company would never tie their money up for 30 years. Buffett would never tie his money up for 30 years. So they focus on velocity, cash flow, right? If you want to become financially free, you can't eat equity. So if you want to buy assets, what's an asset? Something that puts money in your pocket that sends you a check every month. Okay. And then, so you want to buy assets, you want assets greater than expenses, which is financial freedom is the goal, guys. And then you want leverage, and you want, and a lot of times these big companies, if you break them down, I interviewed on our show Barry Dyke, the Pirates of Manhattan,
Yep.
and he broke down their the balance sheets of these guys, and you believe how much permanent products they own on their portfolio. Banks, tier one capital is permanent insurance, right? That's where they store the money. They don't lend. That's where they store their savings with insurance companies, right? And so, if it's good for them, it's good enough for me. And see, those same, what I call corporate finance strategies, work in personal finance. And that's what Tom and I are teaching y'all, right? Is how to don't do what they tell you to do what they do. Okay. Right. And that's what I discovered. So I'm still mad about that. Right. I had my insurance license since I was 20. I didn't know how to be the bank or none of that stuff. I didn't learn that stuff till I was late 40s. So I'm pissed. And so that might come out as we do this interview.
Well, and that's the thing. It's where you position, like, right, don't do what they tell you to do, what they're doing type of things. That's it really. And I think we're both, parents, and I tell my kids that, like, you set the example for them. You're not just telling them what to do and then do the opposite. Right. A lot of times I feel that within the financial space. And listen, it came to me a little bit longer too. It took me a while to sort of start recognizing that maybe the things I'm being told are actually hurting me more than helping me. Right. It's helping other people. Right. And, causing my wealth to sort of fly out the windows all different directions. And I know that's where you before we started the recording, you said, maybe not the investment side, growth side, which is important. You're really helping to protect and make sure people keep more of it. So where are these dollars going? Like for
that's what I think. See, because a lot of times, and we were talking about before, for families, business owners, typical advice is really bad for you because it's designed to. Most people give most of their money away, right? So when we look at it, most wealth is lost by, number one, how people manage or don't manage cash flow, right? So, we have a tagline. We teach a system of money management called cash flow mapping, similar to Profit First. If y'all read that, if you haven't read that, I would definitely get that book. And you have to basically, it's pay yourself first for business owners. Is how to pay yourself first, right? Because what we do is most people think that we always tell people, look, there's 4 things you can do with $1 when you get it. Spend it, save it, invest it, or give it away, right? So Jim Rohn says most people don't have a money problem, they have a philosophy problem, right? And so their philosophy is, I have to pay my bills, and if I have any money left over, I save it. You will always be broke if you think that way, right? You have to pay yourself first, right? Literally, like what we'll do, Thomas, we'll say, look, I want you to create a wealth capture or wealth coordination account. And I want we teach people to save 15% of their gross income. So let me define savings, just so we're clear. Okay. And if you're in business, maybe you start out with 5 of your gross revenue or 10, but you need to save off the top. Okay. Not after you pay everybody else. You got to learn how to take your profit first, but just let's take it from a household standpoint. You want to create a separate account, wealth capture. So let's say you make $100,000 a year. Curtis wants you saving $15,000, right? And I'm gonna show you why you don't have it. We'll come back to that. But let me tell you, because savings has to be automatic and systematic. And I don't mean your 401k, just so we're clear. So let me define savings: safe, liquid, accessible, guaranteed. Do we know something that fits that bill? I think we do, right? and so you have to save it. And so what happens is, so if you do that, like I would create a checking account, and then that's like if you can get it, if you're like W-2 on a bi-week, that's like $576 a pay, right? And you just do that, and then we fund our banking systems from that. Okay, so I want you to create that. I want you to create that pay yourself first muscle. So most people don't do that, and so when people talk about being the bank, that's a saving strategy, right? So if you can't save, you can't be the bank, okay? Because that's where the money comes from, okay? We're just giving you a superior place to store your liquidity, okay? And so that's one. Now, one, how people manage cash flow, and then we call the wealth transfers. So there's like 12, but I teach the top 5 are outside of the top 6 is one, is how you manage cash flow. Then you've got to look at how you pay your mortgage. Is a top transfer. So y'all are paying extra on your mortgage and 15-year mortgages. Stop. It's all a complete waste of money. In this monetary environment, it's always a waste of money, but it's in this monetary environment, especially, that's not your no one goal is not getting out of debt. It's good constructive. I don't like saying good and bad. It's constructive debt and destructive debt. So you don't want to, I have this, a mentor says, don't hurry to a whooping, right? So if you've got a 3% mortgage, why are you paying extra on that? Where you just let the Fed and inflation destroy the debt for you, right? Yeah. So a lot of times we're overpaying because a transfer is money that's leaving your asset column being transferred to somebody else's, okay? But what they miss is not just the money, it's the future value of the money. But they don't teach opportunity cost in business school or in personal finance. And so most people, if you look at the opportunity costs, will transfer away like $2 to $5 million, right? And because you pay a tax you didn't have to pay. It's not just the tax you paid, business owners. It's the future value of that. Of the taxes spiraling out. So if you had to write a $20,000 check to pay a tax, then it's not just the 20, it's the future value of what that 20 that one time would become spiraling out infinitely. And let's say you do that every year, okay? Which brings me to the second transfer is taxes. I interviewed this guy and he worked with like high-end business owners. He says even like top, 1,000 companies, 80% of them, like 85%, some crazy number, 88% of them overpay their taxes because most people don't have tax strategists, they have tax preparers, right? That's right. So you've got to, that's your number one, if you're a W-2, that's your number one expense, your number one wealth transfer is taxes. So when you study affluent people, everything they do is to mitigate current and future taxation, okay? Third is how people fund qualified plans, okay? IRAs, 401ks, 457s. You think you're saving money in taxes. You're a business owner. You're postponing taxes. Okay. And so you got to ask yourself, because I'm not going to tell you, do you think in the future will the government need more money or less?
There isn't anyone who said, even all the CPAs tell me that, right? There's no chance it's going down. So why are we heading down?
So you're postponing taxes to a time where you could pull them out and they could be more expensive, and then you're going to need more money because if you have $1 million in your qualified plan, so the safe withdrawal rate is like 4%, which is not completely accurate either, but that's what they still let you use. So if you have $1 million, you can get $40,000 a year off that. So if you already make 100, you're $60,000 short. Where's that going to come from? Because you're focused on the accumulation theory of getting this big number, right? And in a fluctuating market with the value of the monetary unit dropping every day. So it doesn't buy as much as it bought because of, the depreciation of the dollar. So that's a moving target, retirement, which we don't like that term. And then how people fund their college. And the fifth transfer is how they pay for major capital purchases, and to become your own banker, Nelson says 34.5% of every dollar leaves most people's household in the form of debt to others. Right. So if you can create a pool of capital that you control, can you now take back control of that banking function and then shift that 34% back to you? Can you minimize your taxes? Right. So there's more opportunity in minimizing your losses and becoming more efficient than there is trying to pick the winners. Like if you got a bucket and it's got holes in it, y'all trying to turn the volume up. Curtis and Tom and I want to help you plug the holes, right? So we're the hole plugger guys first, okay? And so stop giving your money away. Warren Buffett's first rule is don't lose money. And the second rule is don't forget rule number 1.
And I've heard some of your interviews and I love it. Being sports guys, I get the defensive coordinator here, the defensive side of people's financial lives are just sometimes just forgotten. Because we're so mesmerized and all the noise around how you have to be invested. It's not timing the market; it's timing the market. It's all these sorts of phrases that stick with people, and you forget about all the potential hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars that are just being siphoned out of their worlds that they don't even know is actually happening all the time, which is the scary part.
Yeah, you got to identify reduce or eliminate wealth transfers. Like that has to be looked at. And that's kind of what we look at first. And then we teach so in our process, what we teach is principles. So I teach financial principles that help our clients become and remain financially free. Principles drive strategy, and strategy drives tactics. Okay. Mm-hmm. So tactics are products that you buy, right? IBC, for example, is a strategy. In our system, that's actually step 2, because we kind of put a planning wrapper around that, and we teach the 5 principles, which we can talk about later if you want, and the 3 rules of investing and the 5 principles of personal finance. So, but you want to look at it because like the products you buy are last. Products should be a result of your knowledge, not a substitute for it, right? So what you want to do is you want to have a philosophy, a framework of how money works and money rules. And I think too many people are, because they, especially in the consumer world, in retail financial planning, you're not saving enough money. And so the only way to make these numbers work is showing you how you can get 10, 12 rates of return, right. 10, 12%. Right. And you're always looking for better products that pay a higher rate of return. But the only way to do that is take more risk. And risk, in my mind, means probability of loss. It doesn't mean opportunity for gain, because you can't, we both like certainty, right? And typical financial advice is not, let's take business owners, for example. So most of the business owners, all planning is designed to send money away from you, to lock it up in a SEP or a solo 401k. And so they'll write a $50,000 check to keep from writing a $10,000 check, right? And that they don't want to write. And so they'll put this money in this SEP or whatever, or this solo 401k. So now it's tied up, right? But to write a $10,000 check, how about pay the 10, leave the 40 available for you to make money off of within the thing you know and understand, your business. Because if you put $1 in your business and you make $2, that's 100% return. See, I'd rather do that than 6 or 8% with risk, but what you're just, and you know that already. See, real estate investors, you already know that. But see, what we do is I just help people lean into what they already kind of know, that they can make their money outpace in their businesses or things they understand, the S&P. Right? But most advice is designed for consumers, right? And not for business owners who want, because the people that we will talk to, they want liquidity, use, control of their capital, right? So we just give them a safe place to have that, and then find things that you like, that you understand, that can give you a good ROI with control and cash flow, right? So you have to re-engineer and kind of unlearn a lot of the propaganda that you heard, because what you want to do is you're doing what everybody else is doing, but everybody else is broke. You can't listen to them. That's why there's 99%ers and 1%ers, right? You can't follow the 99%.
That's it. And it's almost on a weekly basis. I hear people, on the paper, they look successful. They have maybe great jobs, creating income, but they have no access to any money. No access, right, to do anything. And there's no other streams of income coming through assets or anything else. So if everything has to work, right, for this process to actually result in hopefully what they want to get to, versus having understanding. And I've come to grips with this as I've gotten older. Change is always coming, whether we want it or not. Yeah. And unfortunately, sometimes it's in the bad area. And these are areas. That's why we talk about having liquid access to money for opportunities and for bad things that are going to happen, but we're prepared for it so we can withstand all this pain.
See, good financial planning is more preparation, right? You can't have a plan that only works when the sun is shining, when markets go up, right? Markets go up, they go down, they go sideways. So, and last time I checked, nobody has a working crystal ball, right? So we teach more provisioning. So we like I teach something called principles-based planning, right? Yeah. So our 5 principles: save, right? All the velocity starts with saving, the verb, as Kim would say it, of saving, right? Mm-hmm. And you can't save your way to financial freedom, but you've got to learn. You got to spend less than you make, put money aside, so you have capital to deploy to buy or build assets. So, but it starts with saving. You got to save money. You got to capitalize, as Nelson Natcher say. And Two, the second principle, this is what people miss a lot of times when I run into people, because they're all hype about investing and they feel like they got to hit a home run, but they don't play defense. They don't protect themselves. So our second principle that we teach when we do a 1-page financial plan, we go over this in detail, is maximum protection as a principle, right? So all of so that's your auto, that's your home. Do you have umbrella policies? Do you have disability? Do you have long-term care, or better than long-term care is the living benefits built into most permanent life insurance policies? It actually will perform better if you have good face amount. And, do you have disability income? Do you have a will? Do you have entities, trusts, LLC? All of that is under maximum protection, right? Life insurance. Most people are underinsured. Nobody teaches them about human life value. If you're 30 to 40, really 18 to 40, you should take your annual income and multiply it by 25. At least, right? Or if you're 40 to 50, by 20, right? And so you add, I got insurance for my job. How much you got? Well, I got 3 times my pay. Well, what do you make? Well, I make 75,000. Well, multiply that by 20. Okay, you're underinsured. Okay, and so I don't care if I do nothing else with you. I'm not letting you leave out because I've paid over a dozen death claims. So people do die with this stuff, right? And but it's the concept of maximum protection, because you got to build a house on rocks, because the insurance is to indemnify you, to make you whole, right? And so what you can do is you're either going to live too long, you're going to die too soon, you're going to get sick. So while you're building an empire, building your business, you could die, you could get sick, you could get sued, you have a fire, you could have an at-fault accident. You got to play defense. As you become more successful, it's with bullseye on your back, right? So that's my concept, Tom, of maximum protection. So we really spend some time on that. The third principle is full replacement of assets at death guaranteed, right? Guaranteed is the operative word there. So that for us, that limits the insurance that we can use for that, because there's only one that's completely guaranteed, right? And so that's all we do. And then, and you want to leave a legacy of wealth and wisdom. So that's really important, right, to us. The fourth principle we teach is, and this is where IBC comes in, is 6 to 12 months of liquidity. For your first, 2-3 months is your emergency fund. Everything above that is your opportunity fund to leverage your capital and go buy or build cash flowing assets. And really, when we store that capital, our clients store that in their policies, which gives them the ability to have access to capital, but not have to liquidate to use. So now you can basically have your cake and eat it too. You can get the thing because, we talk about the and asset, right? So it's not either or, it's and both, right? And then the fifth principle is velocity, which means that you want to focus on so velocity is 2 parts. Because see, you can get velocity through simultaneous use, right? So if you can make $1 do 3, 4, 5 jobs at the same time, that's velocity. So you can velocity, pay off your debt and bring it back. That's one way to create velocity, using a policy to, get out of debt or buy a big ticket item that you have transferred 35% to a third party institution and you pay yourself back. You're an honest banker, as we say. That's velocity, right? Or you can buy assets and then, you wash, rinse and repeat, but you want to focus on, but I don't do, I tell people that's offense, right? That's your job, because investing is not about buying something. It's about becoming something. See, too many people are looking for somebody to give their money to. You want somebody, that's going to teach you money, right? And so we kind of teach wealth outside of Wall Street. So if you listen to our show, I just got off a great call with a guy that helps people scale 6 and 7 figure e-commerce businesses. Like we're in and sell it for $10 million in 3 to 5 years. I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, right? And
you just want to do 6, 7, 8% in the S&P and just kind of let it ride. That's not enough.
No, not enough. Not enough. Average means nothing, right? You're not getting 8%, because people think. Here's another pet peeve of mine. They think mutual funds earn interest, like the magic compound. Mutual funds don't earn interest. They go up, they go down. They appreciate, they depreciate. So you're not getting compound interest. Only thing that compounds is savings. Savings accounts, CDs, permanent, cash values of life insurance. The only thing out there that compounds interest, money markets, right? And only places to save are the same things, say money markets, bank accounts, CDs, life insurance, your mattress. Okay. That's saving, right? So when I say save 50%, that's what I'm talking about. Not really your mattress, but I'm fine with you having a week or two in the mattress of cash, right? Because stuff happens this time you need money, that you can get to where you can,
Well, I got to find a better hiding spot too, because
right.
I'm checking the mattress.
Yeah,
That's
the mattress, but you're covered or somewhere. You need to have a hiding place for like a couple. Yeah, I remember that thing when it happened in San Antonio, for example, when it got frozen and the power was out because they don't experience cold weather, and all of a sudden, so if you have no power, ATMs don't work. Supermarket cash machines don't work because you're using debit cards. So if you want to do so this is Curtis Baby Doomsday Prepper, okay? But I think about that kind of stuff because again, I'm the defensive coordinator. That's my job, and then you get a good coach to help you with offense, to help you become and follow the 3 rules of investing. So those are the 5 principles, right? And then the 3 rules of investing are invest in what you know, or invest in knowing, okay, or invest in. I added a third one in vetting out good operators. Let's say you like syndication. So to vet out good operator, I think with due diligence, you have to know how to do due diligence. Okay. Then I like to invest in what you can control is rule number 2, or invest in what you can influence the outcome of. I interviewed a guy who does syndication on my show. And he had another great line that says, even if you do that, be an active, passive investor, right? You need to talk to the people, know how it works, be communication with the operator. If they don't communicate with you, that's a sign that they may not be the best operator. So you have to do that because I've been burned with that and I didn't know that, right? And so now I'm really adamant about people don't just, it sounds good. Don't treat it like a mutual fund. You got to do some due diligence. You got to do your homework, right? And then the third rule we teach of investing is don't chase returns. Most people are still chase returns because they don't want to do the work to become, because becoming takes work, but everything else in your life that you are good at that have value took some work, some time, some effort. I mean, there's no shortcut to success.
And that's it. And I think, in our crazy world we live in, the high pace of everything, I think, I understand why people want these simpler solutions, right? They want a passive approach that they don't have to think about. You kind of set it and forget it. But to your point, the reality is people who want this level of success, right, and abundance and enjoying their lives, like it requires work. This is not a passive. This is it's a contact sport, right? This investing and growing your wealth and managing it, because you have to stay educated, be surrounded by good people. I think about leverage, and I think leveraging networks and other people's expertise. And people have to do that. And this is why people like who are listening to your show and mine are like that. They want to own their futures, but they recognize that. In fact,
I tell people, if you're not like that, don't call me. Okay. If you just want to put your head in the sand and max out your 401k, I am not probably a good person to call because I'm the guide. It's your money. Right. Yeah. And it can't be more important to me than it is to you. And so, because you've got to be willing to become, we don't apologize for that fact because that's just, there's no magic bullet. There's no product in of itself that's going to take you to glory. It's a tool, but it's still it's you, it's your philosophy. It's, what we talk to people, there's 4 asset classes: business, real estate, paper assets, and commodities. So when I interview people, we talk about those. I interview different people in those areas, those asset classes. And because it's not my job to tell you what to become, right? I'm going to make sure you save. I'm going to make sure you're protected. I'm going to make sure that you got legacy. I'm going to make sure you're liquid. And I want you to be able to understand the difference between an asset and a liability, which is financial literacy, is accounting, right? And you read the performance. And then if you're liquid, because as your knowledge goes up, your risk comes down.
That's right.
And so investing, wherever Kiyosaki would say, investing is not risky. Being uneducated is risky. So don't be uneducated.
Yeah, and it's interesting. Even in our worlds, and I've come across over my sort of just journey where I let that even slip on my occasion. Invest in something I shouldn't invest in. I get burned on it. Right. We learn these things. Hopefully doesn't take 2-3 lessons to have it sink in. But that's part of the journey with it and understanding. And sometimes you're going to make mistakes. But unfortunately, I often see people that just won't even take that one first step to kind of learn it and start going down another path. And And it's unfortunate because they are missing out on a whole host of other things that they could have here, and because they won't take it because it's maybe a little scary or such. So and that's why I always, when I talk to clients, I say it's not easy. If it was so easy, everybody would be doing this, right? And taking on these sort of challenges and feeling uncomfortable around potentially a scary area like finance. But what I love about what you do is you make it very simple to understand. And I know you're an educator at heart and your passion comes out. And I think you've educated my audience here very well. I think they got tremendous amounts of value. So anything, talked about the principles, the rules, like anything else that you want to share about kind of your approach or thoughts for business owners or W-2 earners to take with them that we haven't discussed already?
I think for one of the things I really wanted to with business owners is the step one, you have to get control of your money, right? You have to, I think cash flow management is where the game is won and lost. And because what we've been taught is to make money, pay everybody. So general, what they call GAAP accounting, revenue minus expenses equals profit. But then all you have is a tax bill, but you don't have any money to show for it. So you have this paper profit. And so I think that if you learn to, and so I'll plug, I have nothing to do with that. I'm not a profit first person, but in terms of like set up, but I think it's a most awesome book. And so we have a version of that. So I actually teach that in our system, but so I kind of create a system where I marry profit first and IBC, right? So I have my own little software, my own little framework around it. But the book gives you the concept, whereas you need to create the accounts. You need to, when money comes in, it's like, all right, profit owners pay. Because see, that's separate. You have to pay yourself for running the business. See, if you can't make the business pay you enough, then you've got to take a look at the business. Your price is too low. You don't know how to sell. Your marketing sucks. It's all that stuff. So you have to really figure out and treat the business like a hedge fund. Like you've got different aspects of your business that you can focus on. So when I look at business, I separate business into three parts: before, during, and after. And so I will look at each as a separate unit. Before is my marketing, attracting people. During is our process. And then after is follow-up, orchestrating referrals, strategic alliances, other after service products that would benefit people, right? So are you in your business? Are you doing that? That's a thing. And then, but you have to set aside. So sometimes the profit is for you to you want to become economically independent from the business. See, most people they think the business is their big ticket. Most of y'all are not going to sell your business. And so you need to be using that money to buy an apartment building a year, right? Or buy some other asset. So if you want to be financially independent from the business. So if the business got shut down, you're still supposed to be rich. Okay. And right, so that's what all of y'all, but business owners specific is we get caught up doing the work, right? And our whole world is caught up in that. And you have to step back and start to see the business as something outside of you. And then I got to pay myself. I've got to get paid for doing the work. I need to set aside money. This is a big one, guys, for estimated taxes, right? And I need to create an account, 10, 15%, get with your accountant, your bookkeeper, but you need to create an account for that. Now, what I do, I'll just give you a little hack, is when I separate those, I literally have those accounts. But instead of draining what I call drain the tank or liquidation to pay those big ticket items, remember I said that's a major capital purchase, we shift those monies we set aside into our policies. Then I collateralize the insurance, pay the IRS, for example, and then I pay pay myself back or pay our policies back from the profit account, or if it's a household thing, I add it as a debt and add it into my cash flow management system, and then I pay it back, out of cash flow, and so because infinite banking is a money management system. Right? Y'all are too many people caught up in the life insurance. There's more to it than that. And so you have to get control of the cash flow. So if I would, both your consumer or business, I would say you need a system of money management. And that's one of the things that we start everybody with that. So before I get into the other stuff, it's like what I realized is that, all right, let's see where your money's going. Because that's the number one problem I see is I just can't save. Well, savings has to be automatic and systematic. It can't be a willpower thing, right? And so what I do is I'll set up the owner's pay, and then I try to run my business like 35-40% of my gross revenue that fund operations. I have separate accounts for all of them. And what it does is it gives you so much clarity, because you don't think you have money that you really don't have, right? Because you've already moved it off the table. It's like, okay, I got to deal with some operations here, because this money, this is for Uncle Sam, this is for this. And then you're honest about, look, I can't just go out and do whatever, because no, you're focused on growing. So if your operations account go down, I got to go sell something. I got to go, ramp up revenue. I've got to work on my marketing, because it forces you to really look at your business as your number one investment. And there's so many different things you could do. So that's how I would, you integrate a dose of, money management to looking at your overall thing. And then it's really, again, it's focused on efficiency and knowledge. That's my last word.
And I love that concept of profit first. And people say, right, pay yourself first. I think everyone nods their head and says, yeah, that makes sense. But to your point, people aren't doing it.
No.
In practice. And, what you're suggesting, combining, the profit first sort of strategies with IBC forces that, right? That
it's like the envelope system but you're using checking accounts. That's all it is.
Yeah.
And it's not new. And but you have to literally do it, right? Because it's easy to do, but guess what? It's easy not to do. Oh, Kirsch, you don't understand. I lost money. I don't care. How about that? I don't care. Okay. Kirsch, you don't understand. I just got out of college. I just got out of dental school, and I have a student loan debt. So you're telling me you think somebody else's asset column is more important than yours? Right? Because everything that's a liability to you is the bank's asset, right? And so most of y'all are willing to bypass your asset column, which creates wealth for you, and transfer your wealth directly to financial institutions. Why? Because they brainwash you to think that's a good thing.
Yeah,
don't get me started. So now I'm getting rubbed up. But,
no, but it takes a critical, sometimes a little shock to the system to sort of just recognize what's happening.
Yeah.
And this is all you're trying to do in your education, and you're trying to put it in simple terms. And a lot of stuff can be simple, right? Not always easy to put in place. But that's why you have people like Curtis here to help set the structures up, look at cash flow and set up the infrastructure so to make it easier to do the things you actually want to do anyway. Mm-hmm. So that's the beauty of it. And it just takes a separate eye and something that's not typical, that's for sure. And so that's why you go out to experts like Curtis. So I really appreciate it. Curtis, this is always fun, and we'll definitely have you back on. We want to talk more about real estate. I know you do a lot of other things in real estate and other things. So definitely we'll want to have you come back on to share your wisdom around that, because I know a lot of folks who are looking to diversify and start opening up their eyes. They definitely want to get there. So want to definitely get some of your wisdom on that as well at some point. But I appreciate your time, Curtis. How best for people to get in touch with you? Is it through your website?
Well, so if you want to hear, so my website, Practical Wealth, what is my website? practicalwealth.net or practicalwealthsolutions.net. And so you'll see our programs. It basically is like a hub of all our stuff. So you can see the podcast, our YouTube channel. It'll connect you to all of that kind of stuff. If somebody wants to hear more about the cash flow thing or talking to us, somewhere in there's a link for an appointment. Okay. If you need that, if you're listening to this, you should call Tom, but I'll know about you. But but if you want more of the madness that is Curtis, subscribe to our YouTube channel and listen to the show. And we try to drop some knowledge every week or interview really smart people to because I've heard a saying, a change viewpoint can change your life. And so what we're in the belief changing and the viewpoint changing business, because we're both financial educators, right? And that's the business that we're in. Because if you teach, because what Nelson Nash would say, if you know what's going on, you know what to do. And that's so most people don't know what's going on. And what we want to do is we want to teach you what's going on. Like I'm Morpheus. I'm giving you, if you talk to me, I've given you the red pill. So you got to decide if you want to, wake up in the real world or go back to sleep. That's totally your choice. I'm not tied to either response. Every way you like it, It's fine with me. I told you happy broke. I'm happy for you.
Well,
Y'all
thanks.
not broke who listen to this show, but
Yeah. That's why. For people who are listening to this, I know if you are, you don't want to be there anymore. So this
but
is why
if you make $250 and you spend $250, you are broke. Okay, you just have a higher level of brokenness. You got no choice.
The mortgage is just a little bit higher.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But you putting all extra money there, it's actually making you broker. But that's for another topic for sure.
Yeah.
But definitely appreciate it, Curtis. Really awesome to reconnect with you, and appreciate you. And I know you've helped me along the way, and it's something that certainly I'm grateful for. So appreciate your time and sharing your expertise.
My pleasure, brother. Great talking to you.
All right, thanks. Thanks for joining me on this episode today. I really am grateful for you as listeners to the Perennial Pride podcast. I hope you're getting some tremendous value out of it and hopefully pushing you along your journey to financial freedom. I put this podcast together really to help you get more educated around your finances so that you feel empowered to live the life that you really want. And if you like the content that you heard today or watched, then I would encourage you to go to my website, perennialpride.com. There's tons of other content there. And you can access my book, Wealth Beyond the Numbers. You can buy it there on my website. It's a aggregation of a lot of great tips and tools I've learned to not only build my wealth in my accounts, but build wealth in my life and abundance and joy, and something that has a lot of my experiences in the journey that I've been on personally. Hopefully that can be also of value to you as you sort of move forward. So thanks again for being a Perennial Pride listener, and we'll see you on the next episode.